All right, we're live. What is going on, people? UFC Fight Island 5 is in the books. I'm Matthew Wells. Alongside me is Drake Riggs. We just watched a crazy night of knockout after knockout after ridiculous knockout, possibly the greatest knockout of the year. It's it was a quite a night of fights, man. Drake, I'm sure we're going to break it all down here in just a second, but we were left with a very important fight in the 135-pound division in the main event. Cory Sandhagen, Marlon Moraes. Tell me what you thought about this fight coming into it, man.
Well, initially, I thought it was, obviously it's a very good matchup. You can't really go wrong in the bantamweight division, right? So it was kind of hard to tell for me because, we've seen Marlon. I think it's safe to say he's fought better guys, going into this matchup than Cory did. And then obviously Cory coming off of, probably his worst loss yet, Sterling pretty quickly and just got dominated, really didn't get any offense in. And then, of course, Marlon was coming in off of the Aldo win, which, some people think he lost, yada, yada, yada. That was a while ago. So I think that, going in, I did favor Marlon. I didn't think that was too crazy. Just, looking at their recent fights, especially. And then, right before the fight started, saw that Cory was the final favorite. And I was kind of surprised by that just because, what I said with their recent performances and all things considered, with, past familiar opponents and whatnot. So I just thought that, Marlon would have been favored. I mean, maybe he was at a point and it switched and they're like, okay, if we look at the matchup a little bit more. But either way, I thought it was going to be a great fight and did not at all expect Cory to, really, he was winning pretty much the whole time. I mean, not the whole time. I kind of had Marlon for the first like 3.5 minutes, then Cory kind of stole it towards the end. So, but either way, I didn't think he would be able to do what he did essentially. So yeah, very surprising.
Yeah, for sure. I thought the first round was going to be how this entire fight played out, with Marlon landing like the harder strikes, but Cory coming with more volume, being more elusive. That's what I thought we were going to be in for the next, 4 rounds of this fight. But Cory, like, my favorite part about that in the second round, when Cory, kind of called out as he's standing in the center of the cage, your orbital's broken.
Yeah.
Like, audibly said this. And then a few seconds later hit him with that wheel kick. And that just speaks to what I thought was kind of like the X factor for Cory coming into this fight. He has that type of confidence about him in his game, where once he gets comfortable, like, you see him start flowing a lot more. Like, he gets really relaxed. He gets set, and like just picking his shots and getting out of the way of things and staying out of danger. He's really good at doing that, and he's really slick with, hitting these angles that guys just don't see coming. Like, that wheel kick wasn't the most technically perfect wheel kick ever, but it was perfectly timed and, hit the top of his head. And hey, yeah, you can't really survive that. So it was just a beautiful shot, well placed, well timed. And I mean, I've seen some of the questions come in on social media now that, should this surpass Aljo? And like, no, absolutely not. Sorry. All of this proves is that Aljo deserves that shot.
Yeah.
Because we saw what Aljo versus Sandhagen looked like, right?
Exactly. And I think that, in this fight week, when we were seeing kind of Sterling and Jan go back and forth, we were like, okay, what's going on here? Because Jan, he was like, yeah, we're working towards something else. We're like, oh, come on, man. Please don't be telling the truth, like, please just be like messing with him. And then we were thinking about it more and more and seeing how, the UFC was kind of looking at things. We're like, oh man, they want to see if Marlon will, like, if he wins, then he might get skipped over. And I didn't really think about it till tonight, like before the event. And I was like, why would they do that, man? Sterling's so obviously the guy. Yeah, he lost to Moraes. That was his last loss, but that was, that was before the winning streak that he's on now. But then I was like, oh, I guess, they were going to do Marlon and Jan. That's probably the reason why they're giving Marlon this chance to, get back the Jan fight. But it's Aljamain Sterling, you guys. I mean, come on. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. And, we got the comment here. Sandhagen needs a Jan win for any hope of a title shot. And that's kind of a good point. I don't know, because you think about it, the way that division is shaking out right now, obviously Petr Yan's the champion. Aljamain Sterling is number 2 before Marlon Moraes was 1 coming into tonight, and he just lost. Aljamain Sterling number 2. So naturally, if the rankings reflect the natural flow of things, Aljamain Sterling will be number 1 come this week, which means he should get the title shot in a perfect world where rankings make sense and that sort of thing is real life in the UFC, as we know it's really not. But behind that, in number 3, currently right now, you have Cody Garbrandt, who's the guy that seems to just jump around, do whatever he wants at any given time. And if Aljamain wins, it's kind of hard to see Cory Sandhagen getting that title shot right away, don't you think? You gotta think they'd sneak Cody in there somehow.
Yeah, I mean, probably with all things considered, now that he's not getting his undeserved flyweight title shot, which shouldn't have ever been put together in the first place, but now he says he'll get it once he's ready to go again. But yeah, that's its whole own thing. Yeah, I can't imagine giving. It seems too soon to do Cory and Sterling 2 again, despite the results, of this fight and everything. That's just a 1-fight winning streak for him. Yes, amazing win over Marlon and everything. But there's some fresh matchups you could do with him. He mentioned Dillashaw when he returns, which is that's pretty perfect, I would say. The Edgar one, Sandhagen was supposed to fight Edgar. That one works too. He pretty much nailed the most logical matchups that he could have next in that post-fight interview. It's funny though, because when he said that, I thought he was saying like who he thinks should get the next title shot, and I was like, "What's happening here?" Like I totally misheard it. So I was like, "Bro, come on, you're totally disrespecting Aljamain there." Like, but thankfully that's not what he meant. So yeah, I don't know. And he seems like a guy who likes to stay active too, so I'm sure he'll take one in the meantime, assuming they don't, do something crazy and give him the title shot next anyway.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past the UFC at this point. I mean, the fact that they haven't announced Aljamain and Jan by this point is very concerning.
You know what? Why? Marlon's actually, he just earned it by losing. If we follow the track record,
that's actually very true.
Yeah,
very true. He's earned it at 145 even, actually. Yeah. To be clear, he's earned it at the
against Nunes, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, Holly.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah. Another comment says they could also give the returning Dillashaw against Jan, and I mean that's an option as well.
Not against Jan, please no.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, as we're talking about, Cody Garbrandt just getting title shots, right? You could see the UFC putting Dillashaw in there, but the fact that Dillashaw is returning from this admitted cheating thing, like, there's no way he should be rewarded with the title shot. Like, after he has to win 2 fights, in my opinion. You got to come back and win 2 fights, be clean through 2 fights, 2 camps, all that good stuff before you even sniff a title shot. In my opinion, that's got to be the punishment for me. Yeah, like you've had the time away, and that's a punishment in itself. But when it comes to earning the right to hold a title for our promotion, like, you have to prove you're a clean fighter, and you have to do it over a couple of fights. If that's how I'm running things. That's just me though.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, not only did he cheat and then, admit to it, thankfully admitted to it, just like, yeah, we knew you cheated and everything, but he also got starched in 30 seconds. So like, can't forget that part, in his last fight. Sure, it was at flyweight and everything, but I mean, it just adds up to where I think that there'd be a lot of backlash, I would hope, from the community if they just inserted TJ right in there, especially at bantamweight, where we have all these, options for the most part and a clear one for what should be next. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you on that part.
Oh, for sure. And again, another comment from Ivan Report: Moraes versus Dillashaw makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, if the timelines run together on that and returning, and Marlon is up for it around that same time, that's a good fight to make. But again, I think the winner of whoever wins that fight has to get one more, depending on how the title fight shakes out, right? Yeah. But definitely by Tuesday, Dana, because you like to make fights on Tuesday, apparently, as he always says on his post-fight scrum or post-fight, media things. I would like to hear Aljamain versus Petr Yan scheduled.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Like, what are we waiting on? What are we waiting on right now? What are we doing here, UFC? But that was the main event, man. Co-main event, we had a 145-pound fight. Edson Barboza, Makwan Amirkhani. I knew what I thought about this fight coming in. Both guys are very tough fighters. Both guys have exciting highlights on their highlight reel, right? But Edson Barboza at 145, I was never really a fan of him dropping down. But tonight, comes out with the hair all over the place, the hair and the beard. And it's like it just gave him some superpowers, man. Like he's got takedown defense now. He's throwing on submission attempts everywhere. Like, what is going on with Edson Barboza at this point? Did you see him? Did you see him doing these sorts of things? Let me just ask you that question.
I mean, I didn't really expect it. I don't know. This matchup was really weird for me because in the first place, I felt like it was a kind of a weird one to make. You know, I know that obviously Barboza is ranked 14 right now, and then Amirkhani is usually in, you know, that back top 15 area. And, you know, I'll just say that I don't really like when fighters get ranked when they don't have a win in the division, even if you think, you know, he got robbed against Ige and whatnot. So I don't like that. But now, you know, sure, you can give it to him since he got a win over a guy who's generally in there and, you know, a very good win as is. But as for the matchup, I don't know. I just felt like Amirkhani's never been a guy who really, you know, puts his strikes together to lead to takedowns. He just kind of goes for it. And that was kind of the situation in this fight where he didn't really set things up too much. He just went for the takedowns after he took so much damage. You know, it wasn't the best game plan, but I don't think he had, you know, the right tool set to do this aside from just pressuring consistently, which I was a little surprised he didn't do because he doesn't really have the striking to match. And not that many people do, but we've seen Barboza get figured out for the most part by this point, right? The secret is, you know, pressure him, get in his face, you know, make him think a little bit more. So, yeah, I favored him the whole time. Not really surprised by this performance. I was surprised more so by his submission attempts than his takedown defense, because I would hope that he would really drill his takedown defense to this point, you know, after so many years. But we've never really seen him threaten like that. I mean, those anacondas were looking pretty tight, dude.
No, they were looking really good. I mean, he was slapping them on just like from any other fighter, that would be a normal thing. But it's like it's Edson Barboza. Like you're supposed to be standing up trying to wheel kick and body kick people's, you know, body parts off, like chopping legs off. Is like that's what you do. Like you don't slap on submissions. You usually try to scramble back to your feet. But no, it's like he's like comfortable down there now. It's good to see because I always like to see fighters evolve their game. I always like to see them add things to their repertoire. Exactly. Oh my God. The goat. But yeah, this was a huge fight for him, man, because he was on that 3-fight losing streak. So he had to come in there and get a win. And I was just super impressed by the fact that he seemed so comfortable in these areas that, you know, we classically don't think Edson Barboza is comfortable in. And he looked really good. He still had the hard strikes. Like that's still definitely there. Like he hit him with that body kick right towards the end of the first round. I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, and I mean, Amirkhani turned it into a takedown, but it was just like, I'm not sure how much of that was actually him just kind of grabbing his leg to stop from himself falling over. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because that thing looked vicious, but it was really impressive for me, man. I liked how Edson Barboza looked tonight. What's next for him though? I mean, it's kind of hard to pick. I mean, there's a lot of different options for him at 145, I guess, but listen, if you're showing that evolution to the game now, like guys need to be careful, man, because like you said, those submission attempts were pretty tight. They're pretty tight.
Yeah, I mean, if they were being pulled off on, you know, a lesser grappler than Amirkhani and a guy who, you know, they were pretty much saying throughout commentary, you know, that it's one of his favorite submissions, and yeah, we've seen him use it before and all that. So somebody who wasn't as accustomed to maybe, you know, throwing out anacondas and darces and all those kind of similar chokes, maybe he would have pulled it off, and then we would have been like, oh damn, look at this, GDR and Barboza back-to-back weeks, pull the strikers taking over with their submission skills now. What is happening? Yeah, so definitely makes him all the more dangerous and gives people plenty to worry about. And who to give him next, though? That is a good question. I think that there's probably some really good matchups in there. I don't have the rankings up right now, but let's see if I can think of who could be in there. I mean, who's Arnold Allen is fighting? He just got a matchup with I don't remember who. Do you remember who?
I do not remember who. I can look up real quick.
Yeah. I mean, Arnold Allen, he should be getting somebody kind of really close to the top 10. He's on a good winning streak. So maybe not him, but somebody in that 11 to 15 range, get him.
Got Jeremy Stevens coming up. That's right.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
it's a good fight. That's a really good fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were saying though, like when you try to pull off a submission that is the other person's favorite submission, Like they're going to know how to get out of it a lot easier. Like Amirkhani's last 2 wins were by anaconda choke, and that's what Barbosa was kind of going for there a couple of times. So yeah, like if you spend some time on the BJJ mat, like if you have a favorite submission, you're going to know how to get out of it more often than not. And it was just like, it was good to see it still, but it's just like, it's not really going to work on this guy. Could have worked on somebody else though.
Yeah,
could
definitely.
Yeah.
And
Maybe,
okay, so
possibly.
I got the rankings here now. Yeah, possibly. We'll see what happens. I see Shane Burgos at 11. I think that's probably perfect. I think that could be good. And stylistically, that Rodriguez fight is kind of mouthwatering, but I don't know if you do that next. That doesn't seem to make too much sense. But Yusuf even, I mean, that would be fun. There's some good ones. I think that they will probably definitely give Barboza a guy ranked above him now that he, has broken that losing streak. And I don't know when Burgos is supposed to be back, but I like that one a lot. So yeah, we will see.
Yeah, I mean, any of the, like, there's not a boring fight that you can put. Like these will all be incredible. And as we are live here, we just got the performance bonuses of the night announced, and we will, I'm sure, talk about all of these fights at some point. So Cory Sandhagen taking home $50K. Congratulations to him. Chris Daukus, Tom Brees, and Joaquin Buckley with
what? No way.
Yeah, no way. How did that guy get a bonus? Jeez, it's not like he didn't do anything great to deserve that. So apparently no fight of the night, but yes.
There hasn't been one in a couple weeks, man.
And if there wasn't a knockout in that Joaquin Buckley fight, that one could have been it, because it was a really good back and forth fight until
it wasn't.
The knockout of ever happened. But yeah, that was so those are your performance of the night bonuses right there. I think those are well deserved. It's hard to pick it though. Like this was a card that was just like, there's so much good stuff going on. But I'm sure the UFC is also going to slide Buckley a little bit more under the table. They should. I mean, Dana already said as much, right? Hashtag Dana said. Hashtag Dana said. So we'll see what happens there. But as we continue to break down the main card here, in the co-main, or the feature bout, or however you want to say it, Marcin Tybura, Ben Rothwell heavyweight fight. Yeah, this fight was exactly what I thought it was going to be. Just a boring
you didn't like it?
Boring slugfest between two guys who couldn't knock each other out. And when that happens at heavyweight, it's usually super boring. I'm sorry if anybody enjoyed that fight. I was not one of them. Did you enjoy it, Drake?
I thought it was all right. I thought it was better than I didn't think it would be this good at all, because historically I really don't like Marcin Tybura fights all too much. But no, I thought that he showed up a lot better than usual in this one. And maybe that was because of the matchup. And Ben Rothwell is just always kind of in people's faces and doesn't really defend whatsoever. Like
exactly.
Like not like he has negative defense if you were to do stats. Just kind of runs into the strikes. But I was entertained by that, so I didn't expect it. I thought he was going to get an early finish, because he started off a lot quicker than I expected him to, and that we've kind of seen from him lately. And then we've seen Tybura knocked out. Rothwell's kind of notoriously got a really good chin, even though as people get older they do suffer some damage and whatnot. But I didn't see. If there was going to be a finish, I didn't think that Rothwell would get finished in. How it was starting off, I was like, oh, he's going to get through with one of those and take out Tybura. But weathered the storm, and I enjoyed it overall a lot more than I thought I would. It obviously wasn't the best fight ever. The heavyweight division is what it is, but I thought it was decent. Above my expectations, let's put it that way. Which isn't saying much.
Okay, so the most telling thing about this fight for me happened in the very first minute of the fight. Okay. Ben Rothwell came across the cage and just started unleashing combos, like relentless combos. At least 30 strikes were thrown right then and there. In the entire first minute, while he's doing this, the commentary team did not acknowledge a single strike thrown by Ben Rothwell. And that just shows you that the commentary team knew that all of these strikes were going to lead to absolutely nothing. So that just helped spell out the story that this fight was going to tell, that it was just going to be a whole lot of strikes with a whole lot of inconsequence. Go to Derek Lewis's Twitter, where he said patty cake, because that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like. Just guys just touching each other a lot. It looked like a a hard sparring day, right? And obviously they're still trying to knock each other out, but I mean, these are two tough guys. They're not going to go away easily. And this fight played out exactly as I thought it was going to be. Exactly as it was going to be. And that's really the most frustrating thing when it's heavyweights, because it's like, heavyweight, a boring heavyweight fight is the worst MMA fight there is out there. When you can predict something like Amirkhani or Edson Barboza being, kind of exciting, you're obviously excited about that. But when you're right about a heavyweight fight being bad, that's the worst.
Yeah.
That's the worst. That's the worst. There's nothing worse than that in MMA, man. There's really not. But I mean, Ben Rothwell came in on a 2-fight win streak. He suffers another setback. I don't know if he's ever going to get back in that title picture ever. He's 38 at this point. I mean, do we even care where he goes from here?
I mean, not particularly. I mean, I got nothing against Big Ben, but I mean, here, I will say this: as I was watching the fight and as it went on and everything, I feel so rude to think this way, but I'm like, well, this is obviously one of those cases where these guys, they're not gonna get too close to contention. This is just kind of just how it is, right? You can see it. You can see it as it's playing out. Sure, there can be some fun matchups for it and everything, but we know the ceiling. We've seen it with both of these guys. We've seen the ceiling. Yeah, sure, Tybura did better than I thought he would here, but it is what it is, right? I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing when you don't want to admit that, but it's like we watched it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Tybura, like, good for him. He's on a 3-fight win streak now. And we see comments in the chat there that Tybura versus Bosser should be the next. And I like that fight. I like that fight a lot. And I think that would be a good fight for Bosser to show off his knockout ability. Go out there and get a big win over a guy that people are familiar with.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising. He's been around since like maybe 2013 now. It's been a lot longer than you realize. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, look, bad heavyweight fights are bad heavyweight fights, and that's just where we were, man, unfortunately. Let's see, what else do we have on the main card? Duplessis and Perez. That was the next fight, right? Yeah.
Nice little knockout. First round knockout, UFC debut. Wants to be the first truly African fighter. That comment confused a lot of people.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so
news to me.
Yeah, he wanted to be, I guess he tried to word it that he wants to be the true African, champion, like born, raised, trained, never left, that type. Because obviously you have Adesanya, you have Kamaru Usman, you've got those guys who have ties to Africa, but they've obviously moved on to different parts of the world. And I guess that was the comment that he was trying to make that got lost on a lot of people on social media. So it was still an interesting comment to make. But hey, you go out there on a UFC debut and score first round knockout. I mean, can't do much better than that, right?
No, not at all. And this was the knockout weird to you too? I didn't realize what happened at first. I was like, wait a minute, was this a phantom punch? Like, what is going on? Did Perez give up? He just went. I did not know at all what happened. And even afterwards, it looks kind of funny, but it was right behind the ear and just totally threw him off his game. And I thought that Perez was, kind of, beating him pretty convincingly there, landing the better shots. And then just all of a sudden rushes in, ducks his head down and gets hit with the one. And all it takes is one. And this is the perfect example of that because he landed flat on his face, man. He was out. I was so like confused about it. I was like, what is going on here? Because his elbow goes up too, and he kind of hit with the elbow. So I was like, did he hurt himself? It was a really weird sequence. But when you watch it back, you're like, okay, that's a good knockout.
No, I thought the same thing initially at first too. It was like, oh, but those kind of things happen from time to time in MMA where it's like in the moment, it's like, oh, did that really clip him? Like, but yeah, I mean, you get hit in the right spot. And yeah, sometimes lights just like your equilibrium gets thrown off, and next thing you know, you're on the canvas. You don't know what happened. Mm-hmm. I think that's what that was too. But Markus Perez, man, unfortunately for him, the Joker makeup doesn't pan out. Weigh-ins. That is 2 in a row dropped under the UFC banner for him. What do you think about the Joker get up at the weigh-ins? Too much? He's doing too much with that?
So I didn't really like it the first time he did it, but I don't know, this time I felt like he was more into the character, so I was a little bit like, okay. I don't know, it was kind of I liked it this time for some reason. Something about the first time I thought was kind of cringy and silly, but I don't know, there's something about this one. He just seemed not as over the top with it, and it's probably because he wasn't in front of a big crowd. Because whatever event that was on, it was obviously back before pandemic stuff, and it was for a big event. I don't remember if it was 229 or which one it was, but he was really playing into it. And this time, it was more like focused towards the opponent, and he's like, what? He said, "I'm ready to die" or something like that, and it was like, "You got to kill me," something. I don't know. That really got. I was like, okay, I'm into this fight now. And usually that stuff doesn't do anything for me, but I thought it was all right. I mean, his makeup is excellent, on point, so I think it works. I mean, in that moment, obviously you're not helping with the fights, but it's fun.
Yeah, yeah. The makeup, I agree with you, like with the character and everything. Like he was really into it, but I couldn't help but think like we are still in pandemic times, and you like putting the saliva like all over your lips and everything, just like licking all over the place.
Yeah.
It's like, man, germs, bro, germs.
Yeah, that's
Too
true.
much going on.
And then Duplessis takes his mask off for the face off too. You're like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, come on, uh, remember the situation we're all in right now. You know. But I did like it though. It was I like to see, the guys show a little personality when they can.
yeah.
But again, if you do all that, you got to show up. You can't get knocked out in the first round because that's the worst part about it. Do all that, and then you're gonna have memes coming out this week, where especially right now, the hot one on Twitter right now is how it started, how it's going,
Yeah.
and they're gonna do the Joker, how it started with him smiling, how it's going with him face planted on the canvas.
Yeah.
So you're just setting yourself up for bad times.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if he's in the UFC, come Tuesday, that'll be surprising to me, honestly.
Yeah, 2-4 in his 6.
Yeah.
I think. So.
Yeah. That'll be surprising. But anyways, let's move on to the next one, man. Another heavyweight bout. Man, Tom Aspinall, Alan Baudot. This one was about as one-sided as it could get when you're looking at all of the betting lines. And I was trying to pull them up here, but they were very, very, very one-sided for Tom Aspinall. And it pretty much, yeah, Vegas was right, to say the least. He went out there and just, let Alan get a couple strikes off. And he's like, all right, let me take you down and go ahead and put an end to this thing. Anything surprise you about this one?
I mean, I didn't know too much about Baudot, so not really. I mean, Aspinall, I didn't. So, with heavyweight fights generally, it's kind of up in the air whether it looks like this or if it's with unranked heavyweight fights or prospect heavyweights. You kind of have a good idea of what to expect, whether it's like out of 3 options or you have a sense of, what you might end up getting, whether you know who the guys are or not. You can just look at them maybe, which you hate to do the eye test, but sometimes it's right. So I was pretty surprised to see how dominant Aspinall looked so quickly. But again, I didn't know much about Baudot, so it kind of is what it is whenever you see a fight so quickly like this. I don't know. It was it's another it is what it is for me. So
Yeah, I just
a good win, obviously.
Yeah, it was a great win. Pulled up the lines. He was minus 635, and it was even plus money that the fight didn't make it to the second round. So this kind of showed you like what everybody was expecting, and that's exactly what happened. So it was one of those things where it's just like, all right, I guess we have to make this official.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we have to actually go out here and do this. Somebody has to get hurt. And it's bad matchmaking when fights are like that. You don't really want to see that. You want to see a guy who you think has a shot to win the fight. And it just looked like a feature bout. This happens all the time in boxing. And that's like one of the bigger differences between boxing and MMA. Usually you see matchups that are a lot closer, but in boxing, you'll have main event fights. Like, oh, this is a showcase fight, yada, yada. He's going to go out there and wax him, and that'll be what's that. You're already talking about what's next for the guy before they even walk to the ring, That's how this fight felt. But unfortunate.
Yep. I mean, it could be a case of, the pandemic matchmaking too, right? Where,
That's
just
true.
Get you an opponent, buddy. Here you go. That's one way to look at it.
I guess my last question on this is, does he deserve a ranked opponent next?
No.
Tom Aspinall.
I mean, it's heavyweight, so maybe, but I would say no. I mean, you could do him versus Rothwell. That's a good test. There we go. See if he's ready for it.
Yeah, it could be. Could be. That would be. I mean, if everything lines up right, it should. They both fought on the same night, but I don't know if Big Ben's going to be one to jump in there that quickly. Aspinall didn't take any damage. True. I don't know. But like you said, it is heavyweights, man. It could be anybody. Could see him against the top 10 guy next. Who knows?
Yep.
Who knows? Last
give him a title shot. Why not?
Just go ahead and line up Stipe. Why not? Why not? So the first fight on the main card that we're going to talk about here before we talk about the most ridiculous thing to happen inside the cage in a long time. Youssef Zalal, Ilya Topuria. I never pronounced his last name correctly, but 3-round decision. Topuria got it done. How did you feel about this one, man? Because I thought this one was going to go the other way, to be honest with you, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, this is another case where I didn't know who Topuria was going into this fight, so I did think Zalal, and I mean, he's been looking very good lately, as is, so reasonable expectation, but no, Topuria came out and was really impressive, just kind of controlled, specifically those first 2 rounds, obviously, as the cards indicate. Did his thing for the most part. Yeah, so definitely a surprise there. I don't think it sets back Zalal too much at all. Like, these guys are both super young and very skilled. So yeah, it's great to see somebody's able to come in like that and do that to Zalal, who's had good momentum and has a very bright future still despite the loss. And was this short notice too? Was Topuria a replacement?
I believe Zalal had another opponent. Yeah, he did.
Okay. So that could have been a big factor for him too. So
yeah, he did. He had another opponent that pulled out. But yeah, I agree with you, man. Zalal is young. I remember, obviously, I was at his first fight in the UFC in Houston on the UFC 247, and he impressed a lot of people like that night. And of course, rattled off 2 more wins after that. Everybody's getting really high on the guy. But I mean, hey, you're gonna hit some bumps in the road, and he didn't look terrible. He didn't look terrible tonight, but he just ran into another guy who was equally skilled, and it was a high level fight. And it was a good win for him making his UFC debut. You don't want to lose.
Yeah,
so go out there, and apparently, like the octagon jitters wasn't a thing for him. So
not with no crowd.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly, no crowd. There's still a whole lot of production going around you, but
true.
Still, I mean, he went out there and did his thing, man. So congrats to him. Yeah, I expect Zalal to rebound from this nicely, but I am more interested to see Topuria fight now because I like what I saw. I like what I saw. Yeah. But so we're not going to break down the entire prelims here. Okay. We're not going to do that tonight. This isn't a big pay-per-view card that needs every fight talked about, but we'll touch on some highlights, right? Why not? There's a bunch of knockouts.
Great card overall.
Let's just jump right into the knockout of the year, the knockout of possibly ever, for me at least. Joaquin Buckley, Impa Kasanganay, 2nd round knockout. This knockout was the best knockout I've ever seen for me, and I'll tell you why. It's because it was a reaction to. It wasn't even really a counter strike. It was, he throws the kick, gets it caught. In the way that it was caught, it was like a catch parry where you throw it out of the way to kind of knock your opponent or knock the guy throwing the kick off balance. And usually from that, you can kind of stand there or you can rush in for a takedown to try to take the back. But Buckley kind of used that momentum of the parry to set up this kick and landed the spin kick right in the grill of Impa and froze him. Like system crashed, like blue screen, Windows error, like everything just shut all the way down and slowly timbered backwards. It was beautiful, man. Everything about that is my favorite knockout ever. Where does it rank for you?
It's early. I don't like to say these things are the best ever, like right on the night of, and obviously, of course, everyone's kind of saying that and whatnot, and it's fair. It's totally reasonable to say that, but I would have to put it at 2 right off the top of my head here. And in terms of most visually pleasing to look at, it's probably number one, but number one for me, I still think that Yair's elbow, his back elbow against Chan Sung Jung, I think that's the greatest of all time, and it's going to be very hard to top for me just because of. So what makes things knockout so great to me is the rarity of them, and obviously this one's a unicorn, right? So is that elbow though, and I feel like the likelihood of seeing that elbow again is far less likely than this one. They're both incredibly unlikely to be seen again, but Yair wasn't even looking. It was just a reverse up elbow. Like it seems a lot more. And then last second, which that shouldn't factor in for the knockout part, but for the story of it, you're like, holy shit, dude! Like, how does this even happen? So that one is always going to be really hard for me to be topped. But yeah, this one gets very, very close. And in terms of what looks better, I think it's this one, the Buckley knockout, because when when Yair landed that, I was very confused. It's like, wait, what happened? Why is he unconscious right now? Because no one expects to see that happen when somebody ducks down, right? In this case with Buckley, okay, you could see him throwing the kick to the body. Maybe is more realistic than going up high like that. But just as the sequence is playing out, the elbow is just completely out of nowhere, right? Like, sure, this one is too, but I just feel like the expectation of seeing something like that was far more ridiculous for me anyways. So top two probably.
No, there was a lot of good things that went into that one too. Like you mentioned, it being a last second, like Hail Mary type of thing, right? Like if I don't land this elbow, I am going to lose on the scorecards, because he was losing that fight handily, right? So that made it special because of that. But of course, like you said, like it was a no look, like just backwards. Like
he just had to get the timing down. Like, geez,
yeah,
it's insane.
And then when he came out afterwards and said he practiced it, I was like, okay, buddy, sure,
yeah.
sure, you practiced that, okay, no, but it was definitely that one's a good one. There's a lot that come to mind. Obviously, the guy who fought on the card tonight that we talked about a second ago, Edson Barboza's wheel kick on Terry Adam, just crazy. Like that one's on highlight reels to this day. You've got the Showtime kick, which didn't result in a knockout, which a lot of people don't realize because they always just see that. They just see the kick and you see Benson like you see ragdoll. Like Benson,
that fight was amazing too, by the way, for people who haven't seen the full
fight. It
really
was. Go back and watch that fight. Anthony Pettis, Edson Barboza back in
Pettis was losing that. That won him the fight too. So
yes,
that was crazy.
But I just gotta say, like Benson Henderson, he always like sells the hard strikes like a pro wrestler, dude. Like when he took that suplex from Michael Chandler, like he sold that like freaking, I don't know, John Cena or something. He sold the hell out of it and then popped right back up like it's nothing. Like same thing happened with the Anthony Pettis Showtime kick. If you just watch that highlight, you think he was dead, but no, he was all right. But
helps him absorb, maybe.
Yeah, exactly, right. Maybe, I don't know. But there was that one. There was a couple of other ones. Uriah Hall, Adam Sella on Tough. Like that wheel kick, spinning.
That one was
kick.
violent. That one was very violent.
Yeah, somebody posted the whole clip of that from the show where like it really reminded me of how long he was on the canvas after that and how everybody was just like they went from celebrating to like, holy shit, is he alive?
Yeah,
like in a matter of 10 seconds. So that one was scary.
Yeah, that one was brutal.
What are some other ones? You got Anderson Silva front kick on Vitor. You've got Anderson Silva on Forrest Griffin, just toying with him. Yeah. There's a bunch. Some people brought up Raymond Daniels' recent knockout, where it was kind of like a double tap kick, similar to this one, but it wasn't off of a parry, like a catch and parry. It wasn't off that. Like he planned to throw. It was kind of like a switch kick in a way, but it was like a spinning. I don't know the right name for it. Sorry. If anybody knows the technical term for that Raymond Daniels kick, please drop it in the chat. I forget. But it was incredible, man. For me, this one was number one in my book. And I think it will hold up after the recency bias fades for me. Yeah. Because I'm a huge fan of when guys freeze up in the knockout, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I love the Edson Barboza one so much too. Because everything just shuts down. And your body like shuts down to the fact where like your legs are still supporting your body, you know? So you get that timber effect.
Yeah, and the eye roll, like everything about it.
Yeah, that's so nasty, man. It's so nasty.
And
She
the
shows this,
crazy thing too is like, I don't know if you caught KSW, but obviously Maman Khalidov before. Got to give a shout out
yes,
to that guy because I think that he had it. I was like, oh, he's got it wrapped up, man. And then like, oh my god, the greatest night probably in MMA history, the greatest day of just knockouts happening overall. Like, geez, the combination of things that we got. And if you guys did not see the Khalidov knockout, go see that. And the story on that one is great too. 40-year-old Khalidov, legend man, comes back, gets his rematch, wins the title in 36 seconds with a jumping switch kick. Just insanity. And then yeah, Buckley goes out and steals it from him. Like madness.
yeah, man. I'm trying to think of a couple of other ones. Obviously, another obvious one. Jorge Masvidal, Ben Askren,
Yeah.
the flying knee heard around the world, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that's one of those ones where visually, I think, because I think Aaron Bronstetter, he did a poll. Shout out to him. Did a poll this week when it was the anniversary day of Mighty Mouse's suplex, right, to the armbar on Ray Borg, and asked like greatest finish and all that, and it was that one, Masvidal, what was the Yair elbow, and then there was another option I don't remember. But I was like, my argument was, I think that visually, obviously the highlight of Masvidal and Askren, that's one of the most beautiful knockouts to watch ever. But greatest one for me, and I already described why, it's Yair's. Yeah, the Buckley one is on par with that the beautiful visual of the Buckley one. And one we got to mention here, I think, is the Davey Gallen knockout on Ross Pearson, the Rolling Thunder kick. Remember that? That was pretty nuts.
A good one. That's
And
a good one.
a forgotten one too that popped up when you said Uriah Hall and Adam Sella. Uriah Hall on Mousasi in the first fight, even though that one didn't finish right away, he had to pound him out after. Man, the jumping, spinning back kick to the face, that was absolutely ridiculous. That one's been very forgotten, if you think, because of, it was people called it a fluke, and then, Mousasi did beat him in the rematch, so maybe you could call it that, but it still happened, right? So that's when people forget about the Mousasi and Hall first fight.
People never giving Uriah Hall his props, man.
Nope.
Can't stand it. Can't stand you internet hooligans out there. Man, no, that was a good one too, man. Just just a crazy night, like you said, man. So many knockouts all over the place. Let's touch on some of the other ones that happened. Obviously, bonus winner Tom Breese getting his knockout. Looked great at middleweight, where he should have been the whole time. I don't know how or why that guy ever made 170.
Yeah,
but yeah, he looked great, and that's the Tom Breese everybody thought we were going to get every time he stepped into the cage. When we first saw him. But looked great, man. Looked great. I want to see what's next for him. Chris Daukaus got a nice knockout as well. That was a quick one. Of course, he dropped a F-bomb in his post-fight interview, and that's just a huge no-no. Huge no-no.
Can't do that.
You can't legally murder somebody and then go and cuss in your post-fight interview. Can't do it. Oh goodness.
ESPN
Friggin'
people.
Disney. The Mickey Mouse. You can't upset the Mickey Mouse, okay? Cannot do it. Side note. Have you or anybody in the chat seen the South Park pandemic special?
I've not. This is brand new, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, I have not seen it, no.
Brilliant. If you're a South Park fan, brilliant.
Why is it on right now? Is that why you mentioned it?
No, I watched it the other night. I think it was on Netflix or one of those streaming services I have. Yeah. I watched it, and it was brilliant. So nice. Go check that out. That's a recommendation for me. Yeah. Tony Kelly with a nice comeback win.
That was my fight of the night. I think that was an amazing fight, especially the grappling. I was loving every second of that.
Yeah. I don't want to say comeback win, but yeah, I said comeback because he got stuck in that guillotine choke, and it looked like he was going to tap a couple of times or just go out. But yeah, no, nice performance from him for sure. And then before that, we had a bunch of decisions, so we don't need to tap on those very much.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, it was an exciting night of fights for me. I thoroughly enjoyed the card, top to bottom. I'd rate it a solid A-. I give it an A- for the night. How would you rate it?
Yeah, I think I'm probably right about there too, because on paper, honestly, I thought that this one was pretty horrible. And I'm one of those people who is always saying, and I think that it's fact at this point, that the weakest cards on paper turn out to be the best ones. And this was another case of that. And I kind of forgot that philosophy going into this one and wasn't very excited or anything. But as it went on, yeah, this was a phenomenal card and, outdid my expectations. So yeah, I think A- is about, I might even say A, just because I didn't think it would be very good and didn't look good on paper. So yeah, I'll say A. It was very enjoyable. Yeah.
See, I gave it the minus because of the Ben Rothwell Marcin Tybura fight. You take that
So
off.
let's see,
Hey,
because I didn't mind that one as much, so that makes sense.
congrats to Tybura and Rothwell for adding the minus to this card on my grading scale. Congratulations. You've brought everybody down a little bit.
An A+ day overall, though. I mean,
No, for sure. And to second your point, I couldn't agree more, man. When these UFC cards look weak on paper, those are the ones I make sure to tune into super early. I'm not miss a prelim because we see all sorts of craziness. Didn't seem like we were going to get that at first when you get 3 decisions in a row, but then after that, it was just like holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. So it ramped up pretty quickly.
So did you see the very first fight? Because I missed that one because I was watching the KSW card. It seemed like there was some controversy in the judging. That's at least what I was seeing. Will you tell me though?
Yeah, it was a close fight. I think the right guy won. Put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't see much controversy there. Like I thought some people had Khabib's boy winning all 3 rounds. Some people had it, the other guy winning a round. I think that was pretty much the main controversy there.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty decent fight. It wasn't terrible. But yeah. So before we get out of here, man, please, if you're watching this, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We got a lot of stuff coming out this week as well. And watch all of our older content. Why not? Check it out. Got a lot of good stuff coming for you guys. So, as we take a look around the Twitter world and the fallout of this thing right here, Cory Sandhagen released a tweet, and it says, "I don't normally do call outs over Twitter, but my management told me I had to. So here we go. At TJ Dillashaw. Meet me in January after your suspension is over, and I will head kick you unconscious. P.S. Stay off of EPO." Bravo. Bravo on the call out. I love it. I love it. I love it. How do you think about that matchup? What do you think?
I mean, first of all, it's going to be interesting to see what TJ looks like, right? Because yeah, they've said, he only did EPO for the one fight or whatever, but I mean, you never know. I don't know. Once it seems like a weird spot to start, right? So I think that, we don't know if he was doing it for longer, but we'll see how he looks, right? That's the big thing. It'll be really telling to see how he looks coming back. But man, I saw somebody point out yesterday on Twitter, it was just a random tweet, I think, but like how a division as good as bantamweight, man, like, and how skillful these guys are and just continuing to get better and better. When you're out for just, 6 months even, like the guys can pass you up at any rate. And he's been out for, 2 years. Like he's going to have his work cut out for him coming back. And against somebody like Sandhagen, who is really more of a problem than at least I thought he was. Man, incredible that he finished Marlon that way. Yeah, I don't think that's a very good matchup for him. It's stylistically coming back because this guy, he's proven to be very durable. I don't think that TJ wouldn't be able to knock him out. I could see it happening the other way because, like, you got to remember, Cory Sandhagen went 3 rounds with John Lineker. And by the way, I want to say I do think that he did not win that fight. Very interesting one to score, but I think that Lineker should have won. But he ate all of Lineker's shots. That's the big point I was making for this right here. I mean, yeah, it's a very intriguing matchup, but I don't think you can say you can favor TJ against any top guys right now until we see what he looks like coming back.
No, and that's a great point. And just to add on to everything you were just saying right there, because I agree with all of it. I mean, when you're an admitted cheater, drug cheat, like you're compensating for something already at that point. So like you say, you on top of that at 2 years away, no EPO. Like,
yeah,
why were you taking EPO? Why? What was it? What was the reason? Did you not feel confident in your abilities anymore? Were your workouts not producing the results you wanted? Like, what was the reason? Like that just shows me that there's something going on with him, whether it be mentally, like confidence wise, that he felt the need to do that. And like you're saying, man, these guys are just getting better and better. A guy like Cory Sandhagen, man, with his confidence on 100 out there against Marlon Moraes is scary. It's a scary individual to step into the cage with, man, when you're that confident. And when you're like, hey, your orbital's broken. Just like, seriously. Goodness, it's crazy, man. I'm a fan of Cory Sandhagen, and everybody watching this should be too. I don't know, man. Anything else that you want to touch on before we get out of here and wrap up this post-fight show?
No, not really. That we've mentioned pretty much everything, but I will say, I guess, to wrap a bow on it is, this whole year has been kind of weird for me from a spectator standpoint and watching fights. Like I've noticed my excitement and like yeah, my excitement and hype for fights has gone down a whole lot than I ever would have hoped it would. Like I just don't get excited the same anymore. That could be because the world's falling apart and all these crazy outside reasons, and maybe no fans. I think that could be a big part too. I don't know, but what I'm getting at is this was kind of the first night where I audibly reacted very loudly to these knockouts we saw. The Kaladov one kind of blew my mind. I was like a little bit numb out of the excitement, like holy shit, he just did that. The Buckley one, obviously, and then even the Dawkins one. I think it was just all these things happening at once kind of got me. I was like, damn, this sport is great. I'm feeling it again. So that was very nice for me personally after such a crazy year and not feeling that same love and excitement as I used to. But I think I'll definitely get hit with it again once we get to Khabib versus Gaethje because I'm very excited for that.
100%. I can't wait for that fight to happen. And yeah, for me to wrap it up on the bow, man, go back if you have not already. Watch every highlight from this fight card because they were all incredible knockouts. Obviously, in my opinion, knockout of the ever, best knockout ever happened tonight. So, like you said, man, A- on the night, A for you. Good night of fights. Other promotions had action going on as well, but hey, UFC showed up on one of those weak on paper cards, producing some fireworks. So congrats to them. Congrats to all the winners. All the viewers, man, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We would definitely appreciate it. Help grow the channel. We got more good stuff on the way for you guys. And until next time, I think that'll do it for tonight. UFC Fight Island 5 in the books.
Peace.
Peace.